Okay, and here we are, ready for the promised crafting Q&A section. And hopefully MJ is feeling better with having rested your voice.
A bit.
A bit. Okay, so begin with your questions about crafting. Do you want to intro it?
Yeah. So we're going to do a half hour right now. May do some more later. If not, we'll certainly, I promise you, and you know how I feel about promises, we'll do a long crafted Q&A as soon as we get back in the studio. Or who knows, maybe even over break, since some of us are going to be doing a staycation thing. But certainly after the break at worst.
Okay, so what kind of... Do mage weapons have special attributes, is I think what you're trying to say, Polydex.
Weapons have special attributes. There's no difference between a mage weapon and any weapon. Weapons crafted for mages can have, the engraving system, can have their materials as well, their characteristics changed. A weapon is a weapon, and as I said in the reveal, you are what your materials say you are.
Where is the crafting dock? Is it located somewhere they can...
Oh, I haven't put it up yet.
Okay.
I will. I'll have it up on the forums either today or just after we go on break.
Questions about being an underdog realm, does that give you a big advantage?
It'll give you an advantage, certainly. We've said right from the get-go that the underdog realm is going to get help from the king, and we are not going to do it the simple way. Simple way is, of course, you hit 10 times as hard. 10% is hard. 10% bonus. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little bit. My throat is killing me, and it's been a long day. But you will, as a crafter or a combatant, you will get major bonuses when you are the underdog, especially a heavy underdog. And we can do it through things like crafting that don't involve the kind of, not tropish, but, because it really is necessary, but the more expected sort of bonuses, like pluses to hit, additional health, quicker healing, all sorts of things.
Will it be possible to inscribe a duck into armor weapons?
No. I love the ducks. The ducks are fabulous, but the ducks don't belong, really, in the game we're creating. They're great for now. They're great as mascots. But once, as you guys have heard me say, once we go into beta, we're going to be mostly duck-free, except maybe for cooking.
Can crafters focus on just the purification process, just focus on being highly efficient at refining materials, etc.?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the questions that was asked in the interviews was that, are we building a system, crafting system, where we're going to have the interdependency of a great system like Star Wars Galaxies? And the answer is you don't have to have it, but certainly being able to go to somebody who's great at purifying and get something done while you work on other things, or he and she can do something faster than you can, better than you can. Absolutely. So do I think someone who focuses on purifying can make money? I do hope so, and that's where the customizations of the Vox come in. You can decide, depending on what you put into your Vox, in terms of the crystals, to make your Vox geared more towards one process or another. And if you're willing to put that effort into making your Vox better at purifying, it will be better at purifying. Just like I said, with the overall crafting system, you are what your raw material. You are what your minerals say you are. Same thing with the Vox. So yes, I do hope and expect that you will be able to make money doing that, because your Vox will be better than the regular people's Vox.
When you kill a caravan, do you get the items? If so, can you use other realms' crafted items?
So let me go into a little bit more detail about that. I do in the document. So there are really two types of caravans. There's caravans owned by the realm and caravans that are controlled by players. Realm caravans are full loot because they're realm caravans. No player loses their stuff in their realm caravan. If it's a merchant caravan or it's a caravan being run by a player, that's different. So If you take a realm caravan, can you get all the stuff from the other realm? Yes. Will you be able to use the weapons and armor from the other realm? That's still something we're thinking about here. Do we want to do that? Do we want to keep the realm look separate? That's something that's to be determined. But it's still, no matter what we do, it's still going to be worth taking the realm caravans.
Why no connection to combat for crafters, tying them more to battle? What happened to the engineer feel they might have had?
I'm not sure why you would think there is no tie to combat. I said I'm sorry, maybe you missed the part of the live stream. That stuff is going to be covered later. This is just crafting. The other part of crafter combat, whether it is traps, whether it is explosives, whether it's things for the depths, that's going to be covered in another live stream. I mean, look, I barely got through everything I needed to get through in the hour, slightly over an hour. Of course, nothing's changed. Crafters are going to absolutely be able to do things in combat. It just didn't fit, frankly, with this document.
How will day one work in the game? People have no money and crafters no gear. Do we need to wait for the crafters to get gear?
No, day one works. I talked about the work orders, initiate work orders. So crafters will be able to come in right away and get stuff done. For the combatants, obviously, you've got to be able to come in with your basic armor and weapons. I've talked about this at length, even before the Kickstarter. That this is not a survival game where we're going to start you naked with a rock. You're going to start with enough stuff, whether you're a combatant or a crafter, to be able to do your thing.
A lot of you are asking questions that are covered in the more extensive doc, so if I skip you, it doesn't mean that I don't want to ask your question. It just means that you will have the answer when you read.
And let me also add onto what Genesee just said. If you're asking a question, for example, that you raised in the forums up till yesterday in that long thread where I said I would answer questions, the odds are I've already answered your question in the doc.
Are we going to have a crafter class with different abilities and skills per realms?
Yes.
Okay. Are you planning, this is kind of tied into what you said, but just to reiterate, are you planning on supporting a full-time gatherer, or will be it necessary to get into purifying, etc.?
I do hope a full-time gatherer makes sense. It's the same with any of the systems of crafting, whether it's taking, making, shaping, etc. Well, maybe not making. That would be kind of hard to do, harder to do full-time. But I do hope that gathering and purifying, certainly, same as well, with shaping, are things that you can do as a full-time crafter without worrying about doing anything else.
How specialized and varied will you allow full-time crafters to become? Can I make the best sword and the best armor, or must I choose?
Well, if you mean, can you make all the best armor and all the best swords? No, you won't be able to do that. Will you be able to make some of the best gear? Yeah, absolutely. It's the same. The one thing everyone who's listening to this stream should keep in mind, when I say I'm trying to mirror the combat and the crafter system in a lot of ways, I am. Or we are. Because if you look at what we're doing with combat, we've said that whether it was in the path system or the new system, you're still not going to be able to master every skill you could possibly get in the game. That would be silly. And it's the same with the crafters. Can you do some things very well? Absolutely. Can you do some things exceptionally well? Absolutely. Can you do everything exceptionally well? No, not a chance.
Since you can refine materials, will there ever be a reason to use the base rarity off a found material, or will you always want to refine it to its max?
So you don't think of refining or purifying as a binary thing. It won't be that you put something in your box and, something that, let's say something had let's say that something had a cap of 90 on quality, and let's say it's at 50. This is not a system where you put it in your box and you play with the sliders and you wait for it to be done and it comes out 90. Maybe it comes out 80. Maybe it comes out 70. It depends on a lot of things. Now, it's not going to fail. I've already said that the RNG will play a very small role in this. But it doesn't mean that it's something that can be refined as a one-step process. So yes, it is going to absolutely behoove you at times to try to get the best quality. On the other hand, for depending on what you're making, it may not matter as much. You know, if you're making tools, if you're making things that don't have to be the highest quality in order to sell, then you don't have to make it to the highest quality in order to sell. Because keep in mind, and you know, one of the things that I looked when I saw the articles over on MOP, Bree wrote something, you know, very insightful, and I thank her for it, and very kind. That when she read the full document, she saw that, you know, I looked, we, and it's not just me, I mean, I wrote the doc, but obviously lots of input from Ben and other folks, looked at things that could come back and bite us in the butt. And, you know, this is one of those things. If you have to always have the best item to sell, best quality item, then of course everyone's going to make and try to make the best quality item. But because these items take a while to make, because we don't intend for there to be a huge surplus on the market, it's not going to be a question of, well, if I don't have a this, then I'm not going to buy it. Plus, remember, really important, that it's not simply about how much damage a weapon can do or how much damage armor can absorb. There are a lot of other factors that will, you know, come into play when it comes to items. And that some of those, you know, you might end up having a higher quality of that somebody is going to like. So it's a really complicated problem. And, you know, part of it, the solution is getting out of the typical mindset that we see in most MMOs of, well, if it isn't purple or it isn't this and it doesn't have exactly this, that doesn't interest me, because that's not going to be as important in this game.
Does CSE plan to implement a beacon-like object that non-crafters can place on a resource object so crafters can use something like the Vox to create new crafting resource areas? Beep, 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 mines.
Maybe. You know, the idea that you know, people are obviously going to have to go out and find these things and let people know about these things, and as well potentially have automated harvesting or even mining of things is something that, you know, we are certainly looking at doing.
Will there be a hard numerical and view limit, as in Dark Age, to the number of bonuses you can craft into an item, or is it going to be a soft limit?
Well, so let's talk about two different systems, because one would be years and the other would be the basic crafting system. So in terms of the basic crafting system, there'll be things that you can do that essentially give you bonuses to the item. Talked about this during the Kickstarter and beyond, the idea that, you know, you don't have to lay a +2 on a sword to make it hit for 2 points more damage. That's part of changing the characteristics of the sword. So if you can do that, that will be dealt with just like anything else when it comes to making an item. So, you know, you can make something sharper, you can make it hit harder, you can make something lighter, heavier, but it's all a matter of adjusting the different materials in the item. So it's a trade-off. Maybe your sword hits for a bit more damage, but it's a little more brittle. Or maybe you've taken down the amount of damage it does in order to make it last longer. Same with armor. In terms of other bonuses that you could put on an item, yes, there is absolutely going to be a hard cap. The last thing we need, especially in a game that touts itself as one that follows horizontal progression, is to say, oh no, you can just go ahead and put as many things as you want on the weapon and armor, because you know, that would really break that progression system.
To build a small keep to defend, will you need to build every block at your Vox and then caravan every block to the building location, or completed pieces be much lighter than raw materials?
That's one of the things that Ben and I have talked about. Certainly there's a certain amount of hand wavy we're going to have to do with certain things. When you look at the number of blocks that could conceivably go in a castle, we've got to find a good way of dealing with that in terms of not only how you transport it, but the building rate. So that's absolutely something to be determined. But the key is we're not going to make it so that nobody can build anything, because it's such a total pain in the butt to do it. That would be dumb. We don't intend to do that.
Will you be able to give your Vox to another player? Is it sellable? If not, how do you get one after you're broke?
Well, Voxes are soulbound, so no, you won't be able to give it to another player. Second, if you're broke, we've probably screwed up in terms of designing the game. But even if you're broke, as long as you have a Vox, you'll be able to get the work orders from the realm in order to help keep you a bit more solvent. But again, it all starts from the core concept of whether crafters are going to be broke, and if they are, we've made a huge mistake in the design, and we better fix that, because we are not. And this is something I also have talked about forever. If you design a crafter class, and you're saying it's a standalone crafter class, you can't design it with the notion that, oh, I'm going to support it via my alt, like you do in other games. That's foolish. So, could you end up broke? Sure, if you wanted to, but I honestly don't foresee a way that you could end up broke and not be able to recover from it, because there will be ways to make money via your realm that will keep you, from starving. Same with combatants. If a combatant has a really new character comes in and has a really bad couple of days and doesn't earn any money and his sword breaks, what is he going to do? Obviously, we need to have an answer for that. So don't worry about it.
How is the Vox affected by RVR? Can your Vox be destroyed by enemy players?
I think that question was asked on the forums. It will be answered in the document. And I don't mean to skip the question. It's just that a tight schedule. And so anything that I can remember that I absolutely answered in the doc, I'm going to wait to wait for the doc to come out.
Will markets be visible in the sense that players can see where goods need to go further into the frontier and can set up caravans to meet those needs?
Yes, as if I understand the question correctly, yes. You can send a caravan to, in theory, again, before I say anywhere in the realm, in theory, anywhere in the realm, you'll be able to send a caravan to. Now, will this work in real life? We'll find out. We're certainly going to try the notion of you can get to any realm. You can get to, certainly at a minimum, any town. An individual can lead a caravan anywhere. Will we be able to do the kind of pathing we're going to need to do in order to ensure that a caravan can go anywhere within your realm? That's one of the things we're going to look at. But certainly, you will always be able to take, as a player, your stuff from one place to another.
Can I be a crafter focused on Vox making?
Great question. I actually don't know the answer to that yet. I haven't gone that far down the crafting, the Vox idea.
Since the Vox will be involved in all aspects of crafting, is gathering going to take away from the Vox power? If so, when the power is exhausted, does that mean we can't gather anymore?
Absolutely not. Standard gathering has nothing to do with the Vox. You'll be able to go out and gather. Could you use the Vox for mining? That's something that we've discussed here. I think we've mentioned it in a live stream or two. That's something we're going to consider. But basic gathering, basic harvesting, no, you're going to do that the old-fashioned way. You'll hire somebody else to do it. Joking.
Will nodes be static or deplete, and new nodes will pop up elsewhere over time?
Yes. Not all. Well, yes and no. Some nodes essentially are meant to last forever. The nodes in the safe areas. Those are not meant to expire. Those are there to help the crafters get started, as well as during, have to come up with a good term when one side is getting its butt kicked. But that's essentially what they're there for. So they are meant to last forever. Throughout the world, there'll be nodes or mines that will absolutely deplete. There'll be mines that will deplete quickly. There'll be mines that will deplete, over the long term. So that's all. We want some amount of staticness with the safe areas, and then we want more randomness with the non-safe areas.
Will crafters need to make several sub-items before crafting a final usable item? Example, crafting a sword requires hilt, blade, then crafting them together to make the final sword.
That's something we're talking about. There's pros and cons with both systems, whether it is you spend more time of the shaping or the making of the material into one final, Or do you have, like Star Wars Galaxies and other games, the idea of making the component parts? That is absolutely to be determined.
Question about how souls go into the crafting process.
Souls can work in two ways. One of the ways we've talked about to date has been the crafter will imbue an item with some of his soul. That will give the item certain advantages. You can also capture souls. We've talked about that forever as well, and that will also give an item certain advantages. Then there's the soul linking idea, which is not confirmed yet, where multiple people can link, their souls together and help power a Vox.
With the mention of PCAs, will they be able to be hired contracted as gathering lackeys? If so, how, where would they deposit the gathered materials that they're getting for their crafting major?
Sure, yes, of course. It's the same as bounties. Look at the PCAs and even NPCAs when they're doing certain things as combatants. Just as we said there would be bounties for combatants, there are bounties, as well for crafters. And this is one of those equivalents. Whether it's called a bounty where you simply put it up to all combatants and say, hey guys, if you go out there, I need this, versus, hey, I need an NPC to gather. Same thing, just slightly different, implementations.
Are caravans rented or can they be bought and owned?
I am toying with the idea of allowing people to actually have a caravan master career. We'll see. That's something that would certainly be a fun thing potentially to do, but no decision, no even serious conversation about it yet, because frankly, that's extra work, and you know how I feel about adding more that this team has to do before this game comes out.
Will the scout class be able to identify those special resources that only the crafter class will be able to gather, or will the crafter class only be able to identify those resources?
Haven't decided that. I could see the scout being very useful for certain things that normal combatants or regular other combatants couldn't get. So that's something also to be determined. I think it fits, but I want to make sure that we don't paint ourselves in a corner where now the scouts are so much more effective at doing it that the crafters, get upset. So we'll figure it out.
Will crafters who never set foot outside the city safe zone be able to reach the same crafting prowess as crafters who take risks?
Well, it depends on your definition of the word prowess, right? So if you mean will they be able to craft all the same items that I can't see that, Tim, I'm sorry. Okay. If you mean by prowess, will they be able to do everything that the guys and gals who are going out into battle do? No, they won't, because they haven't leveled up their skills. Can they reach the same level of fame and honor? It'll be a different, obviously a different track. If you, could simply sit in the city and get all the same stuff as the guys who are going out. Sorry, hang on. As the guys who are going out and, fighting in RVR, who are also donating to the realm. No, that would be unfair. So, I know it's become a sort of trope for me, I guess, but choices matter. And if you choose to always stay in the realm, in the safe city, should you be rewarded if you're really good at it? Yes, absolutely. Why not? But should it be the same as somebody who's doing other things? No, it shouldn't be.
There's questions about architecture / building, and can only crafters do it? Do you have to start with small buildings and be able to build larger ones over time?
This hasn't changed either from the BSC or the Kickstarter days. Obviously, combatants have to be able to do something regarding building. I drew inspiration, obviously, from the Roman legions, who built, roads wherever they went. Will combatants be able to do some building? Yes. Will they be able to build, great structures like crafters? No, they will not.
Okay.
Well, they could do it in Cube.
Ask some of your questions here. I'm seeing a lot of repeats. Some of them I'm skipping because of, again, this is answered in more detail in the doc. Nope, no auction houses. Okay, as a crafter regarding work orders, I might want to be the underdog realm to facilitate my own crafting getting work orders. What incentive is there for me not to pick the underdog realm?
The fact that you're not the underdog realm. I mean, honestly, I'm not trying to be snarky. Playing the underdog realm will be attractive to some people. I want to make it attractive. We want to make it attractive to some people. That's a good thing. Having enough advantages that players want to go to that realm, but at the same time, not making it so that that underdog realm can go out and defeat the other realms. That's the whole point. You know, one of the things that obviously other games have done that sometimes has succeeded, sometimes not succeeded not so much, has always been the idea of bumping up the other realms that are at a disadvantage. And they do that through bonuses to damage. They do it with all sorts of things. I would prefer if we found more clever ways to do that, because it is and can be frustrating for players who, through no fault of their own, are on a realm that is overpowered, you know, in terms of numbers. You know, maybe they started when they were even, and now they've got a big advantage. And I don't want to penalize them. But on the other hand, I want to make it more attractive for people to come in now and play the underdogs, and also not to quit the underdog realm. And so if we can find ways, and via crafting is one of them, that we can make it more attractive for people to do that, then the odds are that our server populations will not only stay stronger, but will also be able to recover better, you know, when we lose some people.
Is there a concept of ownership of gathering plots? Can I corner a regional market of forests?
No, and yes, as always. So let's say that, you know, your plot has something special on it. You know, could you corner it in that, you know, from that perspective? Absolutely. Will you be able to claim plots so nobody else can do it, so nobody else can use it? One of the things we talked about, I think it was during the BSC days, was the idea that, you know, you're claiming plots in the name of the realm, and then you can then progress to taking more ownership from them. So yes, there's an advantage, of course, if you and your, you know, compatriots find this great place that's not owned, or it's owned by, you know, one of the evil, nasty, stinky realms, and, you know, you can take it over, and they have some resources in there that you really want. But keep in mind, something as huge as a forest, considering what you just saw in today's demo, yeah, not likely you're going to take Sherwood Forest.
There's a couple of questions as people try to work through mentally how to bypass the Vox power mechanic. Can a crafter pass...
Gosh, why would people try to bypass that mechanic?
Can a crafter pass a half-finished weapon to another crafter, and will there be a limit of 1 Vox per account so that you can't do these things?
Well, so what I've said, I'll answer the second question first. In terms of 1 Vox per account, what I'm looking at right now is at least 1 active Vox per account. So you can have multiple Voxes, but the Libro is what you use. You know, again, think of it as a memory stick. You know, think of it as, you know, booting Linux from a USB drive with the computer for all the geeks out there like us, you know, while the computer has other stuff on it. So that's how the Vox is going to work. Could we have more than 1 active Vox? Maybe. Anything is up for consideration. You know, you guys should know by now. A lot of things are up for consideration always here. My fear, of course, with having multiple Voxes is that unless it is very hard, almost, you know, exceptionally hard to get one, then there would be too many Voxes, which then ups the number of whether it's refined materials, whether it's finished objects in the game, which then hurts the economy. So that's the second part. What was the first part?
If you can pass weapons
if you
to
can pass
another
weapons, yes,
person
absolutely.
with a box.
No problem with that at all.
Okay. Will there be fishing?
There is no fishing as of now. Would I like to have some more leisure-like sports in the game, yeah, absolutely. They can be fun. I like them at times. I fished in WoW before one of the great fishing nerfs, and during the testing. So, I would love to get to the point, and this is something that we've said not only for the combatants but also for the crafters. This system is being designed so we can add things to it. It's not going to have everything, that a Star Wars Galaxy had because, time, money, budget, that sort of thing. But if the system works great, if the system is sound and it's designed for expansion, then it will be easy to expand. So what you're seeing now is, of course, the core system, the core mechanics, the things that I hope will form the basis of a system that we can expand over time post-launch. Jesse, is it time?
It is at 6:33.
Okay. So, folks, I'm going to say it's time to go over, I'm going to actually let Genesee and Max talk for a few minutes. I want to see the state of the build because we've been trying to migrate the Wormling prep build over to Wormling to see how it's performing. If it's performing well, then maybe some more live streaming. If it's not performing well, that's why it was on Wormling prep. So I'll be back one way or the other, either back for some extended Q&A or back to introduce the live streaming session and then to say good night and to say goodbye for the year. So Genesee and Max, it's up to you guys.